When I first started traveling, I carried paper maps, guidebooks, printed reservations, even a phrase book tucked into the side pocket of my bag. Now I travel with just one tool, my phone. It helps me plan trips, navigate unfamiliar cities, translate conversations, manage money, store tickets, and increasingly understand what I'm actually looking at while I travel. In this video, I'll show you exactly what I use, how I use it, and why tools like ChatGPT have quietly become one of the most useful travel companions I've ever had. Before I travel, I arrange to have an eSIM ready to activate as soon as my plane lands. And as a backup, I also download the local region in Google Maps so I can still navigate even without an internet connection. For example, when I arrived in Madeira last month, I already knew that there was an airport shuttle bus from the airport down into Funchal. I knew roughly how often it ran, where I should get off near my Airbnb, and that I needed €6 in cash to pay when I was boarding. I actually saw a few travelers get caught off guard, trying to tap a card when they got on the bus. And then they were scrambling to find cash or to get back into the airport to find an ATM before they could continue. So that part went smoothly for me because I had looked it up beforehand. But then I made a mistake myself. Before the trip, I had also read that you needed to follow your progress on Google Maps and ring the bell before you stop. Otherwise, the driver might not stop automatically. Unfortunately, after the flight and the airport arrival, I forgot that detail completely. At one point, I looked down at Google Maps and I realized that I was already past where my Airbnb was located. I went up to the driver and he basically said, "You have to download and follow on Google Maps and ring the bell because I don't stop unless somebody asks." Which, of course, was exactly the information that I'd already researched before the trip. So instead of getting off right beside my Airbnb, I ended up dragging my luggage about 20 minutes back uphill through Funchal. Lesson learned. Doing the research ahead of time really helps, but it also helps if you actually review your own instructions before you arrive. Once I finally got off the bus at the correct stop, Google Maps guided me the last few blocks directly to my Airbnb. And honestly, situations like that are exactly why I depend so much on mapping apps when I travel. Personally, I tend to prefer Google Maps when I'm walking. There's something about that larger blue directional arrow that I find more intuitive than the little dot on Apple Maps. And if I want more context, restaurants, reviews, cafes nearby, I can quickly explore what's around me and even look at menus before deciding where to eat. Google Maps has also become incredibly useful for public transportation. When I was in Seville recently, I used it constantly for navigating the city bus system. I could enter where I wanted to go, tap the transit options, and it would show me which buses to take, where the nearest stop was, when the next bus was expected, and where I needed to get off. Sometimes, if I wanted to get somewhere quicker, or if the trip looked a little convoluted, I'll use whatever ride apps work locally, Uber, Bolt, or other more regional apps like Grab in Thailand. And I can book it all on my phone. And the driver knows exactly where I am because my location is marked. I like knowing the fare up front and paying through the app instead of dealing with cash or drivers who don't have the correct change. And when I'm figuring out how to get between cities, I often use Rome to Rio. Not necessarily to follow it exactly, but because it frequently shows me transportation options that I might not have considered. Here's a quick note before I go further. I've mentioned several apps already, and I'll mention a few more. If any of them sound unfamiliar, don't let that discourage you. There's a learning curve with all of these, but usually a fairly short one. And for almost every app I use, there are excellent YouTube tutorials that explain the basics quite clearly. And you don't need to master every gesture. You just need to know enough to make it useful for you. That's all I've ever done. And of course, one of the biggest things my phone has replaced is my camera gear. Years ago, I traveled with a DSLR camera, extra lenses, chargers, batteries, and a separate video camera. Now I simply use my iPhone. The quality is excellent. It fits into my pocket, and because it's always with me, I end up using it constantly. I have a small tripod that I can fix with a magnetic adapter so it just snaps onto the back of my iPhone. Sometimes it helps to have your phone steady for clearer photos, and it can even act as a makeshift selfie stick. But I also use the camera in various other practical ways. When I first arrive and I'm walking to find an Airbnb for the first time, I'll often take photographs of the building or of the doorway or the nearest corner where I have to turn if I'm coming back home. Then later, after wandering through unfamiliar streets for several hours, I have a visual reminder of exactly what I'm looking for when I'm trying to find my way back. I also photograph information plaques, museum descriptions, train schedules, or signs that I know that I'll want to remember later. Realistically, if I don't capture that information somehow, there's a good chance that I won't remember the details 2 days later when I'm reviewing my photographs. It's much easier than trying to write things down while I'm traveling. So the phone has really become more than just a communication device for me. It's become my messaging tool, notebook, memory aid, and my travel camera all in one. The second thing that my phone has changed is how I handle money while I'm traveling. I try to keep it simple. When I travel, I constantly use Apple Wallet. It's become much more than just a place to store a credit card. I keep my boarding passes there, my Wise card, hotel loyalty cards, and backup payment cards as well. At airports, on a train, I can simply pull up the boarding pass in seconds without digging through emails or paper documents. In restaurants, transit systems, or shops, I usually just tap my phone instead of pulling out my wallet. I do use the Wise app quite a bit now while traveling. It lets me transfer money from Canadian dollars into local currency right on my phone, usually with much better exchange rates than the traditional banks. And the Wise card itself sits in my Apple Wallet alongside my other cards, ready to tap just like any other local payment card. Always available within a few seconds. For quick currency conversion while shopping, I don't bother with a separate app. I simply use the iPhone calculator with currency conversion enabled. When you open the calculator app, there's a small calculator icon in the upper right corner. If you tap that, you can turn on the currency conversion feature. Once it's enabled, the calculator displays two rows, each with a different currency. You can choose which currencies you want displayed by tapping the little arrow on the right side of each row and selecting the currencies that you want to convert between. Then whenever you enter an amount into one row, the conversion immediately appears in the other row using the currency exchange rates. It's fast, simple, and helps me stay aware of what I'm actually spending while I'm traveling. The biggest change for me over the last couple of years, however, has been using AI while I travel. Before a trip, I'll often use ChatGPT to help me think things through, not to create a rigid itinerary, but to explore possibilities. Even the arrival information alone has been enormously helpful. On my last trip, I arrived in Madrid and had a train reservation to Seville about 4 hours later. I knew that there was an airport shuttle bus into the city, but I wasn't sure exactly where to pick it up after customs. So as I exited the arrivals area, I simply asked ChatGPT. I've just arrived in Madrid and I want to take the shuttle bus into town to the main train station. Where exactly do I go to find the bus? And where do I get off? Can I tap my credit card to pay?
The Airport Express Bus 203 is a very practical way to get from Madrid Airport into the city. The bus goes directly from the airport to the area beside Madrid Atocha railway station and stops very close to the station entrance. After immigration and customs at Terminal 1. Once you leave the secure arrivals area, 1. Follow signs for bus, autobuses, sometimes Airport Express. 2. You will come out into the public arrivals hall. 3. Continue following the bus signs out the sliding doors to the curbside pickup area. The stop is directly outside Terminal 1 arrivals. You do not need to transfer terminals. You do not need to buy a ticket beforehand. You can tap a credit card directly on board or pay cash. Cost is about €5. A tap credit card is easiest.
What surprised me wasn't just that it worked, it was how reassuring it all felt. Instead of arriving tired and uncertain in a new airport, I felt like I had somebody quietly helping me through the process step by step. There are many other ways I use AI while I'm traveling now as well. Sometimes I'll be walking through a city, inside a church or museum, or just notice something interesting, and I simply ask about it. This happened to me recently in Albufeira, Portugal. There was tiled artwork built into a walkway near the waterfront. Most people were just walking over it without noticing. I stopped, took a photograph, and started asking ChatGPT about it. What followed turned into a fascinating interactive discussion about Portuguese explorers, maritime history, and the symbolism in the artwork itself. That's something I never would have experienced years ago unless I happened to be carrying the right guidebook or traveling with an expert guide beside me. I can ask any question I want about something I'm looking at, and it gives me a written response that I can read, or I can turn the volume down on the phone and put it up to my ear and just listen to the description while I'm looking at the building or the painting or the statue that I've come upon. I don't know how many people have seen me listening to this description and then asked me where I got the guide app that was so comprehensive. When I tell them it's just ChatGPT, they're amazed and they're all going to try it. AI has also become surprisingly useful when I'm disoriented. For example, when I was in Phuket Town in Thailand, I realized pretty quickly that I was walking in the wrong direction. I was trying to search for a section of town where there would be a lot of murals on the wall. I opened ChatGPT, photographed a large pagoda-style structure nearby, and asked where I was and how to get from there to my destination.
Great. This photo tells me exactly where you are. Let me get you oriented clearly and simply. Where you are right now, you are standing at the Phuket Clock Tower roundabout where Phanga Road meets. Phuket Road, straight ahead. Phanga Road, the road you came from. Montrey Road, to your right. This is a known landmark, so you're not lost at all. Dash how to reach the murals from where you're standing. Very easy. 1. Turn around 180 degrees so the red structure is behind you. 2. Walk back along the same road you just came on. This is still Phanga Road. 3. Stay on the left-hand side as you walk back toward Old Town. 4. Within 2 minutes, you will start seeing murals on long walls, old warehouses, the side of the old bank building, alleys leading off the main road. They're big. You won't miss them once you're on the correct block. They're all clustered together. If you want, send me one more photo once you turn around.
I still find it remarkable that I can take a photograph, describe roughly where I am, and receive specific step by step guidance almost instantly. And sometimes I'll even ask ChatGPT to design a walk for me. I use ChatGPT's voice mode, a calm young man's voice that has become a surprisingly good travel companion. I'll tell him where I am, how long I want to walk, and ask for interesting things to see along the way. Not just directions, but context and discovery. I have all the information on my phone when I set out, and I can set the next destination point on Google Maps and just head out on my walk. Recently, ChatGPT designed a 6-hour walk for me through a less touristic area of Lisbon, and it turned out to be one of the most interesting days of the trip. I also use ChatGPT for translation. I've programmed the action button on my phone to instantly open a ChatGPT conversation. I can simply speak naturally and have the conversation translated back and forth in real time once I've given instructions as to what the language is that I want it to translate. I've actually found it quicker and more conversational than many dedicated translation apps. Using AI on the go has genuinely changed the feeling of travel for me. It feels less like following a rigid plan and more like exploring with a quiet guide accompanying me in the background. For a senior solo traveler, especially, there's something reassuring about knowing help, information, and context are always really close at hand. Of course, not everything happens spontaneously while I'm traveling. A lot of my phone use still involves the practical side of planning and logistics. For accommodation, I mainly use Booking.com and Airbnb. Both keep reservation details, check-in information, cancellation policies, and messages all in one place. And airline apps do the same thing for flights. For activities and day trips, I often use Get Your Guide or maybe TripAdvisor to compare options, read reviews, and book excursions. And for trains and intercity buses in Europe, Omio and Trainline have both worked very well for me. On my recent trip through Spain and Portugal, I used them to arrange train travel between Seville and Cordoba and bus transportation onward to the Algarve. There is, of course, one obvious concern with relying this heavily on a phone. What happens if it's lost or stolen? For me, it comes down to a few habits. Important documents are stored on my phone but also backed up elsewhere. My photos upload automatically to the cloud whenever I'm back on Wi Fi. And I stay reasonably aware of where my phone is, especially in crowded areas. On my last trip, I wore lightweight travel pants with a zippered front pocket. Whenever I wasn't actively using my phone, it went back into the pocket and it zipped closed. Simple, but reassuring. Because the phone is only helpful if you don't allow it to become a single point of failure. One accessory that I've also found genuinely useful is a MagSafe ring that I can attach to the back of the phone. It gives me a much more secure grip when I'm taking photos or leaning over a railing or balcony. It also bends so that it can double as a little stand that I can use on an airplane or on a bedside table at night. So, yes, my phone has replaced a lot of things. But the real shift isn't just about the technology, it's that travel feels much more accessible now, more flexible, more interactive. Years ago, that kind of understanding required guidebooks, organized tours, or a lot of preparation beforehand. Now it can happen naturally, right in the middle of the experience itself. Travel feels less stressful now and more immersive. It removes some of the friction from travel. And when that happens, I find I can relax more, explore more confidently, and enjoy the experience more fully. See you next time. Keep gathering no moss.